What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I figured why not? Yesterday I put out Melania, so I guess today I'll put out Louis Theroux, Inside the Manosphere, and we'll just see if I can uh, get, I don't know, uh, fired up in the comments. Anyway, whatever. This film's on Netflix, so you can kind of clock about how tame this is going to be from that. Um, and it does have audio description from Adrenaline Studios. I'm going to start off right up at the top and say no to Adrenaline. Um, I'm amazed that they listened back to this and no one clocked it as being like, huh, that's weird. Maybe if you're British and you quality check it, you can hear more of the intricacies between British voices, and theretofore people sound different to you. The narrator sounds way too close to Louis Theroux to be the narrator of this documentary. I mean, like, you should have found someone else. Like, this is one of those times where clocking in a female just for the differences would have been a lovely choice. Like tapping them in, because I at times had a hard time figuring out, did Louis just say that? Or did the narrator just say that? So sometimes I thought like the narrator was being salty, and maybe they were. But it's really close for me anyway. Trying to hear the two of them, I was like, man, this is not. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you're blind and you listen to this with audio description, was that a problem for you? Because it was for me. Um, but I still got through the movie. And what it is Luthro is a documentarian who loves going and exploring subcultures and controversial topics. Probably his most famous project before this was my Scientology movie. And here he gets these influencers who are out there spreading ultra masculine content about how manly they can be and about how they can claim women, and and they can have a one-sided monogamous relationship. Um, and I don't know, their views on the weakness of culture, and how I heard things about, like, oh, they're putting stuff in the water to make you gay. They're putting, they're doing vaccines make you uh able to have kids. Like, it's just like everything is just, and they're like the world is not set up for men. Occasionally one of them makes a good argument. Um but it's funny how you can wrap a bunch of bullshit around a good argument. But Louis flies around between a couple different influencers who have had troubling social media presences, and some of them have been banned from certain platforms, and they boast about their money and their connection, and they just have this raging toxic masculinity thing going on here, where just it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, but hey, I mean, I think while I don't think this documentary is great, I think one of the things that it does is it exposes the fact that these are influencers. So if you think that these guys are just the epitome of what they're doing is really selling themselves at the max level, and they figured out how to capitalize on their own brand. Most of them are successful anyway, and anytime you get somewhere, like, they always suggest like that's not their only place. It's like, oh, do you live here? No, this is one of my places. It's like, I'm sure you have multiple homes as a social media influencer. Um, but whatever. Anyway, uh, so, and they try to branch out and use their brand name for podcasts, for stock trading tips. They get paid to promote, you know, models and stuff for OnlyFans. And I what I needed from this documentary was Louis to have the balls to do investigative work aside from this passive thing that he does with the camera just being present and hoping that that's enough and being like, well, I'm here, I showed up, and we're going to talk a little bit, and if you find some of these things unnerving and weird that they're saying, then that will be enough. But it doesn't really push into the psyche behind these guys. He doesn't really ask them. They are kind of cagey, but he also feels like he doesn't want to sacrifice um his access by asking important questions or trying to get into the mindset of these people. Like, so what brought you here? How did you get here? You know, before you were this little kid doing this, and then somewhere around this age you turned, so what made you turn into this? There isn't really anything that explores that. It just sort of is like, here's some bros, and you probably won't like them, the end. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's true, but I don't know anything about them other than what they likely would show to me anyway on if I subscribe to their feeds. So you see, the thing is that Louis comes in and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to get them to say some crazy shit. You know, and it's like, they're already saying crazy shit on their platforms. All you're doing is exposing the fact that they, like every single other influencer, are doing it to make money. But did we not know that? Like, did did people not know that that was the end result of having millions of followers and trying to sell you stuff of their brand and then trying to sell you a thing where you can join their platform and get their stock tips? Like, did I need a documentary for that? I needed a documentary to like really explore like the rise of the need for this. Like, what is the mindset of the world? Like, where are men headed? Why do people want this? Why is there a craving for this kind of culture? And who are these people? And why are they doing this? He doesn't do that at all. Like, he just kind of talks to some influencers. So this documentary was all right, but it didn't really do much. So, for a documentarian who's made and BAFTA winning and everything, it's fine. You know, it's the kind of like clickbaity Netflix documentary that's people will be like, ooh, inside the Manosphere, look at this. And I know you're like, oh, he's a guy, he's standing up for, nothing these guys said did I like. I just found occasionally they would say something and made an interesting argument. For example, in case you're like, what does he mean? How could he possibly do? So, um, there's I forget which one of them. One of the influencers is putting up the scenario where he's talking about this like protege of his, and he mentions the idea. He's like, you know, yeah, men were just uh, women are born with, you know, beauty being their asset, so they don't have to do anything, they can just go be beautiful. And his example is that for a wealthy person, that a, you know, 21-year-old hot girl with no discernible skill set or education or job can get invited onto a private jet or yacht or whatever, but a bro of the same is not going to get that same invite unless he makes himself valuable in some way, unless he actually has a skill or is intelligent, or you know what I'm saying? Like, people just don't invite bros onto ships and planes just to hang out, because I mean, who would want to hang out with anyone in this movie? I wouldn't. But I guess that's a valid argument. Yeah, it's more likely that girls are just going to be invited so they can go be pretty on things. I don't know. I mean, the problem is that, yeah, men could be too because of gay culture, but I don't think the straight guys want to be invited by rich gay men onto private planes and yachts. So they're probably not open to that idea of it. But those are the kind of things I'm talking about whenever they would say an argument. I'd be like, yeah, that's probably true. I don't know that you need to base your entire life around that, but uh, why do you want to ride on lots of private jets? Is this is this why you're here? Is you grew up as a little kid and you were like, oh my god, if I could fly on a private jet one day, my life would be complete. And then you notice that only girls were getting the invites, and you're like, fucking girls, man. Um, so I love the moment too. They bring up this. There's a little moment that he inserts about something because they're talking about like women having multiple partners, and there's some weird doctor that pops up, but he doesn't give his name, so he's not like, my name is Bob Clark and I'm a dermatologist. No, he just says it, he's like, I can't even remember what kind of doctor he was. And then he gives this weird statistic about how women absorb the genetic DNA of all of the semen that's ever been inside of them. So somehow it affects like their brain, and how it increases the chances of the kids that they make having like coming and looking out like one of their exes instead of the current. So that's why, anyway. But the thing that I thought was funny was, it's like, why doesn't he have a name? And why aren't we clocking that? Who is this person? Where did they? Anyway, for a documentarian, I needed him to do more work on this, more journalism, please, in order to send this through to the edge. Otherwise, it's just sort of like walking around and clocking some people that you knew would catch attention. Yeah, okay, I did. I watched the documentary. Congratulations. So I guess in some respects it does what it needs to do, but in other respects, I don't think it did anything. I don't think it really. For people who looked at this, they probably would have made all of these logical guesses themselves. And then it's also preaching to the choir. I don't think these guys, fans, are going to watch this documentary and be like, oh my God, I was going to watch it because Harrison's in this, but now I've seen the documentary and my mind is blown. I don't want to be a bro anymore. Not after seeing that documentary. So it doesn't really paint that kind of a picture. It paints them as being kind of cagey a little bit, maybe, about how they're represented in a documentary. But after seeing how Louis represents them in the documentary, I'd be like, I think you would have represented yourself this way in a documentary. I don't think he asks anybody that tough of a question. The worst footage he gets are these random beatings that happen where one of the bros seems to have followers and friends who just love to call up, deeply troubling. They call up one guy just and set up like what would be like a gay date, and they beat this guy up and call him a predator. And it's like, but was he meeting an underage youth or like a grown man? Like, so it's like it's troubling and homophobic, but at the same time, as Lewis points out, they end up using clips from it anyway. He ends up taking, even though I think it was Harrison, like, that tries to distance himself from it, he ends up taking clips and putting it on his social media. So you would have seen it anyway. There's nothing that he doesn't show you that they're not already showing you themselves. They're just showing you edited versions, little clips of it. But I don't think he asked tough enough questions behind the scenes about, um, from these people. And they are very worried about their image. They're very worried about continuing to be influencers in their field. Anyway, I mean, he might have broken up a couple, but there's no reason to believe that couple wasn't headed for breakup anyway. So, um, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Uh, I I did need more from it, but I did learn some stuff because I would never watch any of these people on my own. You know, I didn't know who any of these people were. The only name I clocked was Andrew Tate, who's not featured in this. Um, I don't know the rest of them, so I guess I got to meet a whole bunch of new people and learn their opinions on life. So I got some stuff out of it, but in terms of documentaries this year, this is kind of on the lower end of them. So I'm gonna give it a 6.2 out of 10. We're gonna lean fresh, but we're leaning. And it's just there's more that he could do here. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.